One of the things I often hear when I'm talking to clients is that some of the reasons it took them so long to schedule a therapy appointment or even reach out to a therapist include feeling shame about their behavior. Often at some point in our work with sex addicts, they reveal a belief they have that they would be judged or made to feel worse if they sought help for their addiction. And for some of them, that did happen, usually with a therapist that did not understand addiction and did not have a framework for understanding sex addiction. I think it's important for potential clients to know that most therapists graduate from their master's program without exposure to addiction or very little exposure to addiction, unless they specifically choose a track in their grad program that is addiction specific. Another reason we know that sex addicts are often reluctant to seek help is that they don't view their sexual behaviors as an underlying source of their unhappiness. And when they do seek professional help, they tend to seek help with their addiction's related symptoms. Symptoms like depression, loneliness, and relationship troubles, rather than the sex addiction problem. Many can attend therapy for extended periods without ever discussing or even being asked about their sexual behavior. As a result, one of their main problems can stay underground and untreated for years or even decades. I also have found, and this may not be true everywhere, that a lot of clients who have substance addiction and sexual addiction report going to therapists for help with their substance addiction, and when they bring up their sex addiction, their therapist didn't know how to help them. So their belief isn't entirely unfounded, which is why I'm including a link that you can go to and search for a CSAT near you. So what are the reasons that lead you to sex addiction? First, I want to start with the definition of addiction by ASAM, the American Society of Addiction Medicine. ASAM defines addiction as a primary chronic disease of brain reward, motivation, memory, and related circuitry. Dysfunction in these circuits lead to characteristic biological, psychological, social, and spiritual manifestations. Or put another way by ASAM, addiction is a treatable, chronic, medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and an individual's life experiences. People with addiction use substances or engage in behaviors that become compulsive and often continue despite harmful consequences. Sex addiction, or compulsive sexual behavior disorder, is a dysfunctional preoccupation with sex that continues for a period of at least 6 months despite negative consequences and unsuccessful attempts to either quit or curtail the problem-causing behaviors. Stated more simply, sex addiction is an ongoing, out-of-control pattern of sexual fantasies and behaviors that causes problems in a person's life. Another way I talk about it with my clients is addiction is a maladaptive way of coping, which leaves the question for us to answer, what are you coping with? So, sex addiction, along with other addictions, is widely considered an attachment disorder. Attachment disorders occur when there is a lack of adequate social and emotional attunement and caregiving during childhood, which can disrupt the bond between a child and their parent or caregiver. Attachment disorders in children can develop as early as their first birthday, and sex addiction is one of the ways this attachment disorder manifests in their adult life. Because of the attachment disorder, sex addicts tend to be sensitive to feelings of rejection, abandonment, and a feeling of not being lovable. Of course, there's still a need that humans have for connection and relationship, but because of the attachment wounds or the traumatic events during their childhood, they didn't develop healthy relationship skills, and they've learned to avoid vulnerability and emotional closeness. This is what we refer to as an intimacy disorder, which is often co-occurring with sexual addiction. An intimacy disorder feeds the addiction cycle to escape the feelings of loneliness, emptiness, inadequacy, and shame. Addiction can be viewed through several lenses as we approach sex addiction recovery. Can addiction be looked at through the lens of a brain disorder? Yeah. Can addiction be looked at through the trauma lens? Yes. Can addiction be looked at as an attachment disorder? Absolutely. Can we look at it as an interrupted grief process? Yes. Can addiction be looked at through the lens of a dysfunctional family system? Yes. Can addiction result from complex interpersonal trauma? also yes. And all of this takes time to work through and build long-term recovery. Working with a CSAT or a certified sex addiction therapist who can work from this multidimensional approach will help you understand addiction and increase awareness of the factors in your story that brought you to sex addiction, which can help reduce the shame and stigma you have been living with. I'm going to put that link here now so that you can click on the link and find a CSAT near you. There's also resources available on YouTube, podcast, books that can help you understand your addiction until you're ready to schedule with a therapist specialized in treating sex addiction. If this video has been helpful, please press the like, share, subscribe button, and if you want notifications when new content is released, click on the bell.